Good afternoon. My name is Sister Tesa Fitzgerald. I'm a sister of St. Joseph. And Debbie said in the beginning that she had her boss speak before her. I hope you hear my boss and your boss speaking to you every day. So it's really good to be here. The networking has been amazing for me because 30 years, no, not yet. Sorry. Okay, 30 years ago, I had an invitation from Sister Elaine to come into Bedford Hills Correctional, where she was serving as the chaplain, as the director of a family service program. I went in because I never thought of what happened to a child when a mother was taken away from that child. I was an educator, I was a principal, teacher, I loved it, I loved kids. I went out of curiosity, but God had a better idea. I was hooked. I went in there, I came out of that prison that day saying, I have to do something. I sat and listened to stories of women. They agonized with the guilt and the shame that they had caused their families, their children. And all they wanted to do was to do something to rebuild their life, and they couldn't do it alone. So at that point in time, in 1986, I, with 3 other Sisters of St. Joseph, opened a house for children in Long Island City, Queens. There is another borough other than Manhattan across the bridge. And that's where we found an empty convent. We opened the home for children, and we continued that ministry over the next 8 years. But again, the wisdom, and Reverend Wyatt said that before, the wisdom that I experienced from all these women said, do something more. And that word more is a very important word in my life. So we opted to do more. Where was the need? The need was to open a home for mothers, to welcome them when they came out of prison, and to welcome the children that were in our care, that they could reunite in a place called home. Because there are many people who have good places to go to. More and more, there are people who do not have a place to call home. And we take that for granted in our lives. So in 1995, the World of Our Children was born, and since then, and again, it's a long story, and I won't tell you the long story, but the short story, the happy short story, is that over the past 30 years, the work of Our Children is now today, we have 5 communal homes in the borough of Queens, but they are for all women coming out of New York State Prison or Rikers Island. We have 3 apartment houses, but again, we need more. We have a host of support services. I had great conversations talking with many of you about the need for mothers. You've heard a lot about men, and men, I like you. However, the need for mothers, let's give the women an applause. We need more women. So we offer now, again, we're Queens-based. We have the housing situation. We have a support services called, first and foremost, child care. That when a woman comes out of prison, especially from the prison nursery where we do work, she needs child care to really enable her to be free to get with her life. So we have a child care program in Long Island City. Kids grow up. We have an after-school program. We have a very important job training program. We have a mentoring program. We have thrift shops because, again, when women come out of prison, they need clothes to get themselves together and get ready for the job world. So we have a variety of programs in Long Island City that support the women who are coming out of prison. Currently, we have about 75 families under our umbrella. That's our outside work. But I have to do a pitch for the inside. Inside, Our Children runs the Department of Corrections Family Service Program in Bedford Hills Correctional. And we do a lot of what was talked about by the woman from Vera Justice. You know, advocacy program, parenting programs, transportation, making sure children get up from all corners of New York State to see the mother they love and the mother they have a right to see. We do that also across the street in Taconic Correctional. The 2 programs, it's amazing, in rich Westchester County, you have Bedford Hills, which is the maximum security for prison for women with about 800, and across the street in Taconic, which is medium, you have about 400. So those 2 prisons are right there. There's a lot that can be done. We do a lot, but we could do a heck of a lot more. And it's supported by the Department of Corrections money, but again, budget cuts 3 years ago, everything was slashed. They took away what was called the free bus. There used to be a bus that would go all over New York State, bringing children and families to see love mothers in Bedford. That was cut 100%, 100%. So again, now our children is able, through the goodness of many churches up there, many good people in the city area, foundations, to really bring back the bus and bring children up on a regular basis to visit their mothers inside. Why am I emphasizing the inside? Because if you learn anything from today's work, re-entry starts the minute a woman is arrested. Not when they're looking out the door, not when they're walking out. You can clap for that. That's inside. That's not today's program, but we have to pay attention to what's happening inside New York State prisons and Rikers Island. We have to do it in conscience. And that will be the next thing I challenge the Interfaith to do. Look at what's really happening. We can all talk a pretty picture, oh, we have this program and that program. There aren't enough. And it's archaic, a lot of what's going on inside. You know, when you don't have computer access inside prison, tell me that's a good program? So inside is important, and I say it, that re-entry starts in there. Back to our children, a program that works. I believe it works because I see it every day. I've had the proud privilege of living in one of our houses for the past 30 years. I live with the women who come out. I see their ache, I see their pain. When they come out, there's a euphoric feeling, there's a honeymoon, and soon the honeymoon is over because the reality of life sets in. How am I going to help you understand that? Take it to the video. I'm going to bring you across the bridge to Long Island City to listen to 3 of our women and their life, and that will help you understand what re-entry, the newest buzzword on the agenda, is all about. Our children's mission is to help incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women and their children successfully rejoin the community, reunify with their families, and build healthy, independent, and secure lives. Our Children provides compassionate and comprehensive services and encourages all to live and interact with dignity and respect.
I was born in Brooklyn, East New York, in Kings County Hospital, to my mother, a single parent who had bipolar disorder. You know, it was a rough childhood. My mother didn't have the tools to actually be a mom. At an early age, I realized that things just weren't quite right with my mom. I felt more at home out in the street than I did in my own house. And then when I was 19, that's when I got arrested for possession of a weapon, and I was sentenced to 3 years. I don't know why I was carrying a gun. That's what people were doing in East New York. I was about 2 months when I first got arrested, and like, well, I'm pregnant, what am I gonna do with this kid? But after speaking to the women, speaking to some of the officers, I realized that there was some hope for me and my baby. I was in labor for 24 hours, handcuffed to a bed. Even if I could have family with me, I had no one to call. You know, as soon as she came out, they put her on my breast. It's like you already felt all that love. Even though I never received it when I was like little, I knew, or I was so anxious to give her all of this love that I had in me for her. You know, I did all that I could do in prison to make me a better person. I was taking parenting, I was in college, got my GED. So I reached out to the nursery manager, and she told me about Our Children, and then Sister Tesa came. She spoke with me, she says, don't worry about it, it's gonna be fine. They really were concerned about keeping us together and letting her know that I was her mom. Michelle, she's 8. She's a phenomenal kid. I think she's gonna be a journalist or something. You know, I read to her, she reads to me, and it's, you know, we have a wonderful relationship. In 2005, I was released. I came to Our Children, and I stayed approximately 2 or 3 months. And then I said, you know what? This is not for me, I'm leaving. I went back to my mother's house. I had all of these goals, all of these plans when I got released, and I've completed absolutely none. I reached back out to Our Children and I said, you know, Sister Tesa, can I participate in the Working Women program? I serve as an example in the program that it can be done. It's not over because you've been to prison, you have a felony. Your life is just beginning when you realize that you want to take control of it and do what you can with it.
I was born addicted to methadone. My mother was a drug addict. My father was a drug addict. I was born and raised around drug addicts. I went from taking like a couple of pills a day to taking probably about 60 pills a day, easy. I now was starting to be arrested. And it's kind of like you get arrested once and then you're getting arrested every other week. And I literally was getting arrested every other week. I got pregnant by a drug dealer. I was 7 months pregnant. I was still getting high. You know, it was almost like I didn't believe I was pregnant, or I didn't even know what the right answer was. I turned myself in on a warrant. I was pregnant, shackled, in a big orange jumpsuit. Then I was sentenced to 90 days on Rikers Island. And I wound up giving birth to my daughter while I was still incarcerated on Rikers Island. It was lonely, and the only people I had there were the COs that were watching me. And it was just like, I knew at that moment that I owed this baby everything. Every bit of life in me, I owed to her. While I was on Rikers Island, I met an advocate from our children along with a mother from our children. It was, you know, the way she spoke about the program that made me say, okay, this might work. The woman had said to me, I'll see you as soon as you get to our children. And I was like, yeah, right, I'll probably never hear from these people again. You know, I guess I'm going back to Staten Island where I have nothing. I was literally going back to the projects, to the same apartment that I was getting high in and bringing my baby there. That was what I thought was gonna happen. And 2 days before my release date, here was the advocate like, oh, Sister Tesa got a room for you. And I was like, huh, you didn't forget about me? I walked through the doors and I knew that this was where I was meant to be. I knew for the first time, probably since my mom died, that I was gonna be okay. It's not like I can call my mom, like, can you watch Savannah tonight? I don't have that. My entire family don't live here. So I don't have family members to turn to. So it's the women that live here that are my family, and they're the ones that I'm gonna turn to. Sister Tesa's got a love for us that shadows our past. Our past has nothing to do with who we are today. She loves us for the person I am. I was given simple words, and those simple words made a light go off in my head. And if I can give that to just one person, I mean, I can't even explain what that feeling is.
And I remember, like yesterday, this unbelievable crash, but I didn't know what I had hit. And I remember waking up and they said, ma'am, you've been involved in a fatality. Nobody in a million years in Suffolk County, Long Island, would think that Jody Kennedy could have relapsed. I had been in AA for almost 20 years, so if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. I had all the trappings of, you know, what America tells you is the thing to value, the house, the cars, the built-in pool. I spent my whole life trying to help people. That was my job. And here I had killed somebody. I was charged with vehicular manslaughter and sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison. This organization is how I'm rebuilding my relationship with my children. Kids came to see everybody, but my kids wouldn't come. And I thought, maybe if I go there, they can help me start to see my kids again. I saw my son for the first time in 5 years. And I don't even know what it was. It was, all I wanted was to rebuild my relationships with my kids. Sister Tesa believes that people can get a second chance. There's a lack of being judged for this horrific thing that I judge myself for, that I judge myself every day for. She says, hey, it's okay. We love you, and we're gonna show you how to love yourself again. And that's probably the heart of it. You're worth it.
People often say our children is about second chances. I really believe our children is about first chances. Our children offers women their first chance at rebuilding a life that they often dreamt about, read about, but never had the opportunity to create for themselves. So when they come to our children and they call us home, we, with many others, give them support systems and the love and the possibility to make that happen.
Ask me what works, that works. And it works because of the hard work, really, and resiliency of the women who come out of prison and have somebody on the other side, a place to call home, where they are asked to do things with structure, but they know the reason why, and they do it and do it so well. Our recidivism rate at this point, thank God, is 3%. And that only happens when a woman who relapses, who gets scared and runs from, doesn't believe that we have an in with parole. All right, that's what happens. But all of that, all of this, what you can do as a faith community, and I challenge you to do that today, is really to replicate the model of our children in your communities. We are currently doing this in Suffolk County, and Rusty is very wonderfully a new employee of New Hour of Suffolk County, which is an affiliate of our children, and pretty soon they're going to grow up and be their own 501c3 charity, but they are looking to provide services inside the Suffolk County Jail, and then also to look for program space and housing space for the women coming either home from the state to Suffolk County because there's nothing but shelter systems out there for them, and also to provide women coming from the Riverhead Jail. But that model of providing a home, because one of our houses is in the Unitarian Parish House in Flushing, and they turned it over to us, and we now run that with 7 families in there. That model can be replicated in your various communities. It doesn't have to be large scale, but it can be done. And as we did 30 years ago, we started small with a dream and a conviction that is our responsibility, not only to see an issue, but really to make something happen that can help and change the world. And really, that's it. The last thing I challenge you with, and Mr. Punt, I wish was sitting right here now, a lot of talk is about Rikers Island, and of course, all about the numbers. I think they said there's 10 jails, 9 of which are for men. Okay, I would like to leave the men alone there for a while, and look at the one Rose M. Singer for women, where there are about 700 women at this point in time, which is a decrease in numbers. And maybe as a faith community to come together with the idea, let's get the women off the island. Let's get them to, and do that, and if it can be done with the women, we might be able to do it with some of the men too, but the women come first here. They're mothers, they're people who should be back in their community in a structured setting, in whatever that's going to look, so that they are not a threat to anybody, that they're paying their time if that's the issue, but that their families would have access to them and they would have access to their families. It makes a lot of sense. Because right now, the way things are in Rikers Island, the visitation, we were talking about that before, you could spend 3 hours to visit a mother for an hour, or a male for that part. So they're the 2 challenges I give you today. And as I said, the work that our children does can be replicated, and it's certainly, I know, our motto is love makes a difference. And certainly, the love of the women can make a difference, have made a difference in my life, and I know once you let, or the experience of formerly incarcerated into yours, your lives will be changed too. Thanks and God bless.